don't underestimate the power of being an indie. I think it actually is cooler sometimes than being a major. Like, you have so much edge, sort of negotiating your own terms, your own path. Know that you have a lot of power and know that you have a lot of leverage. Even if you have a couple thousand followers, there are so many brands that will still want to work with you for your strong cultural currency, for your community, and then start moving from that space. I'm so excited. I prepared like 2 pages of notes, and I doubt we'll get through all of it. I have a ton of talking points, but of course, like, if there's something that strikes your interest, guys, let me know, and I'll dive deeper on anything that is of interest to you guys. But we have a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah. This is gonna be good because I know a lot of people are, when you're just starting out, it's like, how do I juggle it all? How do I make myself this business that I have to be, but also keep that creative spark, which is, it's hard. So it's like, well, how did you do it? So we'll
Right?
go ahead and kick it off.
Yeah.
If you're ready, I'll let you introduce
so ready.
yourself. And yeah, again, if you guys have any questions, you could drop it in the chat or in the Q&A. Or if you want to come up, feel free to come up. And then also the chat is open. So introduce yourself, drop me your socials, let us know who you are, what you do, all that good stuff. But yeah.
Oh my God, love it. Okay, there's already a question. What's the experience of being an independent artist versus a signed artist? Can an artist be successful as an independent? That is such a good question. And I will answer it by kicking off with sort of indirect answer. I myself am an independent artist. I have been signed, and I fully support myself from my own ventures and my own music. So to answer your question, yes, it's possible. I don't have a manager. I don't have a publisher. I'm not with any record label. In fact, I have my own indie label. And the cool thing about it is we don't own masters and we don't do distribution. It's called Sungate Records. But sort of my whole core philosophy and everything that we're going to talk about today stems from my early experiences as an indie artist, sort of feeling like the music industry is not necessarily designed with the artist's best interests at heart. I'm sure we can all agree with that. It can be a very predatory, painful, difficult, complex system that is many times designed for the profit of stakeholders and sort of capitalizes on the vulnerability and talent of gifted musicians. I'm sure we can all maybe agree to that. I don't know if you guys can give me a clap or whatever, or some sort of cosign on that. But in recognizing that really early on and feeling a need to sort of protect my work and protect myself as an artist, I was like, there's no way that this industry can be this ugly, like, there's no way that I can spend thousands of dollars of my own, my parents' support, my hard-earned money, and go to the studio and make records and cut them and make videos, and then just go and sign a contract where I say, here, let me just pass over all the ownership. Thank you. So, I was like, there's no way. It's just not cool with me. It didn't resonate with me. I'm a very sensitive person. So I was literally, when I got signed, I was breaking out in cystic acne. I lost weight. I didn't look good. Like, if I'm not in an environment that is good for me, my body will tell me. So I literally couldn't hack it. I couldn't handle it. So I bought back my masters, and it was late in the game too. So for anybody that's like over 28, 29, even better. Mature, seasoned artistry, right? People think that you have to be like 21, 22 to be a pop star. I didn't start making money from music until I turned 29, guys. Like, meaning making a full living, paying my rent, paying for my car, paying for life from my career didn't take off till my 30s. I'll let that also sink in. I was struggling, and my 20s were a shit show. I don't know if we can say shit show here, but just trying to make what I thought was marketable, make what I thought labels would like or what A&Rs would like. And that turning point came, and this is a big thing if you're taking notes. The turning point came when I was like, okay, I'm done waiting for gatekeepers. I'm building my own kingdom. I'm building my own house. And literally, to not be so metaphorical, what does that mean? I went and I got a LLC. Sorry, guys, my intern. I went and I started an LLC, right? First thing, got a DBA in New York, doing business as Sungate Records, registered my LLC. Didn't know what it would look like. I just knew I had to take those motions. I knew I had to put one foot in front of the next. What did I do next? I went and I opened up a business bank account. Didn't have any money in it, but I knew I had to go through the motions. And in the beginning, it feels almost awkward. You're like, I don't know where the money's going to, don't worry about that. Like, don't worry about where the money's going to come from or what the verticals are going to be. Set the house up brick by brick, right? And then, of course, as you go and as you sort of explore the array of possibilities when it comes to building revenue, you could be an artist that's more, attracted to the idea of touring. You could be more work for hire in the studio. Are you writing top lines and lyrics? I wouldn't suggest that anybody here rest their laurels on streaming as a sustainable revenue stream, because we all know Spotify is a very sort of fractured space. Like, I tell all my artists, like, if Spotify is the big pie and we invest this much of our time into, touring, this much of our time into brand partnerships, like, let Spotify be another small piece of the pie. Never let it take up a lot of the pie. It's never going to like be the saving grace. It's just the money there is just very fractured, right? So, as an independent artist, you want to look at building your sustainable verticals, and that's going to look different person to person. So yeah, so I launched the LLC. I called it Sungate Records, and the big thing for me, my moneymaker, was work for hire songwriting. I got on a website called Sound Better. There's plenty of others that are similar. There's like Vocalizer, there's Air Gigs. Very straightforward, vocation based. You hire me for a lyric or a demo or a vocal performance. I set my rate. You pay me fair and square. We negotiate a split if we want to. I collect the fee and that's it. And slowly, like, no joke, in the beginning I was making like a couple $100 a month, charging $80 for a top line, $90, $100. At one point, I was like making 10 grand a month on there, like pre-COVID, before everybody got on there. That's a lot of money for an indie artist, like between 8 to 10 grand. Sometimes I was so booked that I had to give stuff to friends of mine because I couldn't handle the volume. If you're doing an EP, that could be, $2,500. You have to negotiate as you explore your life as an entrepreneur. You have to know what your worth is, right? So, like, I would even go as far as coming up with a rate card. If you're touring and you're playing shows, what do you charge for a 1 hour solo act? What do you charge for a 3 hour solo act? What do you charge for a 2 hour show with a band? Like, these are things that you need to concretely start tangibly writing out. Make your rate cards, make your pitches. Like, when you're coming up with your business and you're coming up with, say you have a goal, like, I want to make $2,500 a month from music. What does that $2,500 look like? Totally fair and healthy goal, by the way. I just want to see if, like, show of hands, or if you guys want to put in the chat, like, who here is currently like making money from music day to day? Is there a chat?
Yeah, there's a chat. Let's see. Anyone making music? Making money?
Money from music? You want to help others do it? Hell yeah. That's what we do at Sungate. Who here like wants to make that a goal, or they want to make money from music? Like, they want music to be their bread and butter, if that's a way to put it.
I'm sure everyone.
Yes, Lex. So let me be the first to tell you that it's absolutely, absolutely possible. Love it. Manager, and you're on a startup with an LLC for music. Love it. So, it's all about having that sort of right lens and right approach to it, meaning you're defining your strengths, you're defining your verticals, you're coming up with your rates, fair, normal market rates. Like, don't go into a studio and be like, I'm charging 15 grand for a top line if you've never charted or had a hit. Like, it's possible to get there. But, just think about approachable, sensible pricing and see what happens. Test the market, pitch yourself. If opportunities are coming in, negotiate your rates. I'm just such a big proponent of like putting it out there, and even sometimes like posting it on your story. Like, I remember in the beginning when I was making money on Sound Better and like really killing it on there, I would sometimes be like, all right, quarter 4 or September, coming up, I'm going to be in New York on these dates. Book me if you'd like. I just would put it out there on my LinkedIn. Like I would say, or, from time to time, it's also okay to sort of advertise your services and like vocalize them. People won't know unless you say it, but there's a lot of power in just putting it out there. And the dividends might not be immediate. You might do that and you might find that like a month later you get booked for it. But if you are hoping to make money or hoping for anything and not taking action, I don't think I need to say that, but if you're not taking any action, it's just not going to come. Whatever small little actions you can take on a daily basis, whether it's cold outreach or posting it on your social media or sending out a newsletter with that update, write it out. What is your rate? How can they book you? Make sure your PayPal is set up. Like these little things might sound mundane and like what's the word? Like redundant, but it's what like the recipe. It's kind of like what goes in the sauce. But sort of to back it up even more, or let me pull up my notes here. So, yeah, so like this idea of kind of operating like a founder, right? Treating your artistry as a company, building your LLC. What else goes into that? Having a budget, when the money starts coming in, you want to kind of see like that difference between what your overhead is and what you're making. So write all that down at the end of the month. Like if you had to pay a guitar player for a session, if you had to order a cable, you had to pay for an Instagram boost, like start keeping a spreadsheet, track those expenses, and always sort of monitor your overhead versus income and make sure that that's also a balanced ratio. You don't want to be pouring out thousands of dollars making fancy music videos that have no ROI and then, you only made $250 that month. So keep it scrappy if you can, shoot stuff on your phone if you can, link up with friends, collab tags, anything that you can do to sort of widen your reach and widen the strength of your community without having to necessarily pour dollars into it in the beginning. Also really wise move while you're building the brand equity, while you're building the revenue streams. And then later when you're making enough, then you can, splurge on a music video or a fancy photo shoot. Also, let's talk for a second about, catalog, right? And, everybody is, I don't think it's ever going to be not a strong desire for indie artists to have a record deal and like to be famous or to have that traditional looking Sabrina Carpenter Drake career, right? To be like a top artist. And I completely support that and I think everybody should be living out their dreams, but be open to the idea of it maybe not having to look like that. Meaning, somebody from Atlantic or somebody from Warner doesn't have to come and sign you. Like, how can you still have that dream and work towards it so you feel inspired and you feel motivated, but how can you do that on your terms? Like how can you not give up the rights to your music and how can you own your data and own your catalog and sort of manage your own business and still be moving the needle? Um, I think that ownership of your catalog is what actually gives you negotiating power with brands, with collaborators. A2IM, which is the Independent Artist Association, it's for like all the indie labels. It's called A2IM. They actually put out a star certification for indie artists, the same way that Billboard recognizes charting, like platinum hits. They have that now for independent artists, which is also huge. So don't underestimate the power of being an indie. I think it actually is cooler sometimes than being a major. Like you have so much edge. You can go directly into a clothing shop and be like, "Hey, I wear," like go to a boutique like a clothing shop somewhere and like say you're wearing one of their tops and you're like, "Hey, I want to post on Instagram. Will you collab tag with me?" And they have like 50,000 followers. Like there's a lot that you can do as an indie, sort of negotiating your own terms, your own path. And I think it can be just as exciting and just as creative and just as door opening as, being able to work with some of the bigger brands like Nike, which you can get to, but just know that you have a lot of power and know that you have a lot of leverage. Even if you have a couple thousand followers, there are so many brands that will still want to work with you for your strong cultural currency, for your community, and then start, moving from that space. Um, Another and there are so many tools too for like ownership of your data. I really push bands in town. They've now integrated with YouTube, but if you're touring and you're performing or your artists are touring performing, please get them on bands in town and integrate that into your sort of tech stack. It collects fan data. You can email fans directly. Those people might not be following the artist on Instagram or on Spotify, but they might have come to a show and seen them, or it comes up on Google searches and they become a part of that fan's ecosystem. And every time you have a merch drop or new release or something, you can email them through the Bands in Town portal. It's completely free to use. And now that they've integrated into the YouTube IP, it's an even stronger network. So does anybody use Bands in Town here? Just curious. You guys can answer later. But yeah, so Bands in Town, fan data, right? And then there's also this something I kind of want to touch on is I'll get to the questions in a second. This term gatekeeper, I love and hate that word because it's to some extent it's true. There are folks at the top that are controlling access or whatever. But I don't think we need to live and die by that term, right? So you should never really be waiting on gatekeepers. You should never be waiting on somebody to open a door for you. There is still so much, think of yourself as a gatekeeper, right? So say you want to get booked at a certain venue or you want somebody to open a door for you or you are waiting on, the fate of your XYZ hinges in somebody's hands. How can you take that power back, right? So I'll give you guys an example. We really wanted my Cuban artist Sada, who is amazing. You guys should all check her out. SADA. We really wanted to book her for a debut show here in New York City. Sada is a cellist. She used to play for like Shakira, Bjork, J Lo. She's played the Latin billboards, Super Bowl, Grammys, and she recently started pursuing her own songwriting career. So she's with Sungate Records, my company, and we really wanted to like have a breakout moment for her in New York. She's coming here in October. We wanted to bring her to Amazon Music, do a little filming there, which we're doing. And like no venue, the venue that we really wanted, City Winery, was just like not coming through. And the booker was like, yeah, I'll let you know. Yeah, I'll let you know. So we're like sort of like there, like begging like puppy dogs, like waiting for her to give us access. And it's kind of like when you're dating and a guy is giving you breadcrumbs and you're like, okay, this is going to lead to something or whatever. But then you're like, no, actually, I'm going to go somewhere else because you are not respecting me. Right. So not to say anything bad about the venue, but we just felt like she was kind of leading us on and she wasn't going to give us a date. And I didn't want this opportunity to slip through our hands because we had so many other wonderful things happening for her in New York. There was this awesome artist that wants to do a co-writing session with her. Amazon is letting us film. We want to film social media content. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to create the moment. Like if our dream venue is not giving us a yes, I'm going to find a whatever venue. It doesn't have to be, Madison Square Garden, and I'm going to create the hype and I'm going to create the excitement around that. We don't necessarily have to be at this magical venue for her to be validated in this market. We just have to put on an amazing show. So I found a venue that was willing to say yes. And were they, as cool as her number one venue? Maybe not. But are people really going to care? Like, we're just trying to get an incredible show together. And then I went and I booked 5 incredible support acts, 5 female artists here in New York. This incredible Indonesian pop artist, Mexican R&B, singer-songwriter, pop, soul. And then we have Sada with like Afro-Latin Cuban jazz. It's the most fire roster. And over the course of a week, because we like alchemized all these forces, all of a sudden we have like the coolest show in town. And like I'm getting DMs and texts and everybody is, thank you, V. I'm getting DMs and texts from everybody being like, oh my God, your show with Sada looks so cool. Like colleagues of mine, industry peers, like, and now we're kind of like the talk of the town. So my point here is you don't wait always. Sometimes you have to wait on the gatekeeper, sure. But when it feels like something is within reach and you have a vision and you want to make it, don't give your power over to some gatekeeper. Take it back and go build it somewhere else. Create your own hype, and I promise you, the opportunities and the resources and everything will start to come once you've sort of taken the reins on that. Does that resonate with you guys? I see comments here. Okay. Oh, 100%. And build it with confidence, man. Okay, so has LinkedIn been a helpful tool for you over the years? Yes and no, in that, it's a great space to stay up to date with people. Well, actually, I think there's one that's open here. Via actually found out about this via my LinkedIn. So yes, it is a tool and he's here, which is great. The one thing that I'd find it a little bit hit or miss with is like DMing people. I'm not really one to sort of like pitch our services via DMs, and I get a lot of solicitations on there that seem a little spammy. So in that sense, I don't love it as a tool, but I love to see where, folks are, what they're doing in their careers. And I just love to hype people up. Like I love to support people, like, comment. And we have a Sungate Records LinkedIn page, and we're often posting about our artists there. So it is great in that sense. What are the best resources you would say that an artist tend to use often? What are the best resources would you say are the best resources that artists don't tend to use often? Great question. Well, I mentioned bands in town. I think a lot of people sleep on that. I have one. Okay, so BMI and ASCAP, right? I don't know who performs here or who doesn't, but BMI and ASCAP both have a live portal. Every time you play a show, you need to log those shows. You need to log your set list, because every time you play your music out in public, you get performance royalties for that. And a lot of artists just don't even know that exists, or sleep on it, or they get lazy and they don't handle the admin. Every time you play a show, I don't care if it's a bookshop and there's 6 people sitting there or no people sitting there. Anytime you play a festival or anything, and sometimes you'd be surprised, like over the course of a year, like you might end up in so I'm a performer and I started this, as you guys know, because I am a singer. So when I was in grad school at NYU, I got invited often to play at charities and fundraisers. And some of these fundraisers and charities were in venues that are like 1,000 cap rooms. That's huge. When you log that, even if you play one song in that room or 2 songs, you log that in a 1,000 cap room, those venues pay licensing fees to the PROs, to ASCAP and BMI. So they are mandated to pay your PRO whenever you perform under their roof, and you get that check in the mail quarterly in your statements. Do not sleep on that. Not only is it good habit to be logging your shows and just to keep that admin going, but like you're literally leaving money on the table if you don't log your shows. So again, coffee shop, bookshop, restaurant, barbecue place, beer hall, vineyard, I don't care, banquet, a wedding, bar mitzvah, like log the shows and get that money. The second thing is collecting your publishing mechanicals. So a lot of people, every time your music is streamed on Spotify or whatever, you get the master recorded royalty. That's through DistroKid, TuneCore. You get paid those royalties. There's a second royalty, which is your publishing or your songwriter royalties. And those get slept on a lot because people do not sign up with like the MLC, which is the Mechanical Licensing Collective. I'm not going to say there's another company, but I won't say their name because I'm not a big fan of them. But there is another company out there that collects publishing mechanicals on a worldwide basis. But I don't recommend them, but I'm not going to say their name. But you can do your due diligence. You can do your research. And I know Cosign by Cobalt was just rolled out. I think they're only on a invitational, not invitation. You have to apply. Not everybody can get in, but you can sign up with the MLC. It's completely free. That's through, I think, the US government. They fund that, and it's a nonprofit. And don't sleep on your mechanicals. For every $20 check, Sound Exchange. So Sound Exchange is your non-interactive digital streaming royalties. Yeah, and radio. So that's like Pandora. I actually have, guys, on Sungate Records, we have a metadata download sheet, meaning like say you put your music out into the marketplace. These are all the websites you need to register your songs with once it hits the music marketplace. So let me throw that in the chat. Make sure you get that. So once the song is out, it's mixed and mastered, it's out in the marketplace, you need to encode it with Mediabase. You need to encode it with Luminate. That's how you track metadata, airplays, radio play, whatever. Sound Exchange, as Via said, MLC, and then you have BMI or ASCAP. Cover all your grounds. So in summary, resources that are underutilized and slept on are anything related to admin, which can be an artist's hell if they just want to create and they just want to be vibey and they just want to like enjoy the good part. Like try to try to sharpen your administrative like office side too and make sure that you're always on top of managing your metadata, manage your catalog. There's also like a magic that comes through just being really diligent about that. I saw another question in the what is the experience in being an artist? Okay, we talked about that. Has LinkedIn been cool? Did I answer? I think I answered.
Think
Um,
that
yeah.
I do have a question.
Mm,
What are some of your revenue streams? What all the different ways that you can make money as
sure.
an independent?
Yes. So I have several. I do a lot of work for hire songwriting. So, like I said, through Sound Better, I get hired on there for a number of things. Mostly it's lyric writing. So, artists and producers will, I'll send you guys the link to that. Artists and producers will send me a beat. They'll be like, I want a song in the style of Dua Lipa or whatever, or, BB Rexa, and I will write the lyrics or I'll write the melody and then I get paid my flat fee and boom. That's one. I also do artist coaching, so one-on-one artist coaching. I have my label, my indie label, Sungate Records, and we do digital strategy. I have an agent, so I perform live. In the summers, I perform live out in Bye, Vio. So great to have you. In the summers, I perform out in Long Island. I also tour and I perform. And then I have sync licensing revenue. So I have an agent that places my music in TV and film. I also do micro sync, which is music in like YouTube videos and creator initiated projects. And then streaming, but streaming is, like, not real money to me. It's like it's not the money that's gonna, like, pay my rent, so I don't really count that. I mean, make a couple thousand bucks a year, but not, like, really meaningful income. So the top are work for hire songwriting, melody writing, in-studio vocal performances, live performances, sync licensing, artist coaching. I do voice lessons as well, and one-on-one digital strategy for artists.
Goodness gracious.
A lot.
It's
I feel like
I mean, not really. But it's good to know all the different ways because I'm pretty sure people think about sync licensing, streaming, and that's it. I can perform stuff like that, but those are some kind of ways that you don't hear about all the time.
yeah, no, it's a delicate dance and there's ups and downs. There are times where I'm making more from one than the other, and I think somebody just asked, like, how do you balance the
Yeah.
2? That's what I love about it. I love the idea of, like, switching like, for example, day to day, I work on other people's campaigns, right? So I'm managing artists, I'm, like, working on their, campaign rollout or ideas for their Discord or pre-save campaign, like, I love being able to switch hats and go from that to writing my own music because it gets me out of my head. Like, artists can sometimes get really, like, go into tunnel vision when they're, like, just working on their music and you kinda feel like you're in a cave and, it brings me out and then I get inspired and I come back to my own stuff refreshed.
Yeah, I we talk to artists all the time, obviously, and that's one of the hardest things that you hear artists. I don't
Mhm.
like the word complaining, but they struggle with.
Mhm.
It's like, ugh, like I have to go do, like you said, all this admin stuff. And I
Yeah.
tell artists, but that's how you get paid. And then, like you said, kind of get out of your head and, allow the creativity to flow. But it is, it's difficult. And I love that you figured out a way to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna look different for everybody too. Like, I worked at a record label right out of college. I was the assistant to the president of a label, and I had to manage his schedule, and I was also I started off as the office receptionist, and I think it just kind of ingrained structure into me. And just some tips, guys, like, use Notion, use Asana. Like, if you could use sort of a workflow structure to build out your day, maybe, 9 to 12, you do admin and emails. 12 to 2, you work on songcraft. 2 to 3, take a break. 3 to 5, maybe you do pitching and, outreach to gatekeepers. Like, build your day out in a way where you're, first of all, Here's like a straight like a kind of like a earnest tip. Don't ever try to do more than like 2 to 3 big things in one day. Like, it should never be like, 9 to 10, I'm gonna do sync. 10 to 11, I'm gonna vocal warm up. 11 to 12, I'm gonna do guitar practice. 12, like, don't overload your day. Pick like 2 to 3, maybe 2 targets, and then build your day around that. So there's some like energy and some flow, and take time off too. I know it's a lot, and I know that like switching from, oh my God, I'm like logging these shows and doing this excruciating metadata, and then I have to go like connect with my muses and be spiritual and like write beautiful music. Like, be okay with sort of operating both of those muscles. Know that everybody has to do it. You're not alone in that. And build an environment around yourself where you can thrive in that. If you are an artist that needs incense and candles and a walk through nature before you work, set yourself up in that way. If you are inspired more when the sun goes down, leave some evening hours, maybe 2 to 3 days a week to do that. And also don't put pressure on yourself. Like, I don't schedule. I used to in my 20s. I used to sit in my room and toil and toil over melodies, and I would force myself to come up with like perfect hooks, and I would spend hours and hours and hours like obsessing over, like, I was just a perfectionist. Now, sometimes I don't even do longer sessions than 30 minutes. I use this tool called Pomodoro, which is the Pomodoro method. I don't know if you guys do you guys know the Pomodoro method? I'll send that tool out. Talk about tools. The Pomodoro method is when you set a timer, and you can set it for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Basically, you give yourself a window and you do whatever that task is in the time you're allotted. Once you're done, like the buzzer goes off, then you walk away, take a break, go have a glass of water, go make a coffee, check social media, but I don't recommend that. Like, even we'll get to that later. Just stay away from social media while you're in your craft, but just do something to break it up. Come back, set the timer again, another 20-minute session, and do like small sessions, 25 minute, 25 minute, 25 minute, just to get through some of the big stuff, like, so that you're not, because I think a lot of this is just overwhelm. Oh my God, I have to do this and I have to do this. And that feeling of overwhelm is actually what prevents you from taking the action. Actually, psychology like course here, but what is it called? Procrastination is not because you're lazy. It's an emotional thing, because you are thinking, oh my God, I have so much to do, that your brain and your body gets overwhelmed by the emotion that you're gonna feel when something is uncomfortable. So like logging into, the MLC and logging 10 songs and having to put in ISRC codes, you might have an emotional response to that is resistance. And it's not laziness, it's just because it's overwhelming. So instead of doing 10 songs, maybe you set a timer and you do 2. And then tomorrow you go back and you do 2 more. Then you do 2 more. The next thing you know, your whole catalog is registered. Does that resonate with you guys?
Yeah, I didn't know it was called that, but I would do that with my daughter, and I would
Oh,
say, "All right, I'm setting a timer, 15 minutes, clean your room."
yep.
And as much as you can get done in 15 minutes, then that's what you get done, and then we'll do it again later, but I did not know that it was a whole method.
See, that's why you're a founder. You have the leadership tool. Yeah, like chunking large, overwhelming tasks down into small, bite-sized, approachable mini tasks is like, because you're still doing it, and then you're getting your body into the habit of doing it, and you're not overwhelming yourself. So definitely give that a shot, guys. So many questions. Okay, what are the most effective ways for emerging artists to grow a fan base online or offline? Oof, there's so many. Follow us on Instagram because we give tips on that all the time. But I mean, at Sungate, we have a numerous ways, right? So there's everything from building out newsletter series to collecting fan emails, obviously at shows, and building like email pipeline series where it's like, some artists have a Patreon, some artists use a tool called School, some artists are really into Bandcamp. Using stories to communicate with people. Like, people really seem to respond to being active on their stories. So don't like sleep on that. And, say you have a single coming out. It's totally more than okay to DM people about it. Like, I always tell my artists, like, pick maybe 5 people leading up to a single and send them a heartfelt DM and just be like, "Hey, I have a single coming out. It's about this. Really love it if you pre-saved it," whatever, heart emoji. Sometimes we expect that people will just know to do the thing, but sometimes you have to just, like, tell them, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So use your voice, ask for what you want, and then beyond that, of course, you could set up little there's a lot of I see a lot out there, a lot of hate about, doing Instagram ads and meta ads. People are like, "Oh, I never discover music through Instagram ads," and I actually don't believe that. We don't rely on that to be a fan discovery tool, but we use that for exposure and reach. So if I have a new artist that has 1,000 followers on Instagram and they want to play South by Southwest and their videos have 200 views on them, is a booker at South by Southwest going to be appealed by that? Probably not. So we need to sort of like beef it up, right? And we don't want to pay for anything fake. So why not run a healthy Facebook campaign or a meta campaign where we could get those views up to 15,000, 20,000, and get likes and get engagement and possibly have some stickiness and fan retention because somebody will discover that artist. So it's okay to have a healthy mix of organic, paid, as long as you're not, you know, paying for. Never buy fake comments, never buy bot followers, never do anything like that. But using a proprietary tool like Facebook ads or Instagram ads or Marquee or Showcase by Spotify, these tools are designed and built by these companies to bring people that are already in their ecosystem to you. So I always think it's a wise use of the dollar. And like I said earlier, you shouldn't be spending your whole budget on just that one thing. You're spending a little bit on wise Spotify playlisting. You're spending a little bit on, Facebook and meta ads. And this stuff compounds over time. So that's obviously a great tool. And then I don't know where you're based, what city you're in, but I mean, playing shows is amazing. If you have breaking sound or so far sound, apply to those. I don't know if you're in Nashville or New York or LA, but those sort of artist accelerator spaces are really great for linking up with other artists. If you're a member of Women in Music or Songwriters of North America or all these sort of tools that are out there in these communities, it's a great way to meet other artists, play shows with them, tap into their fan bases, and then of course keep making earnest and authentic content and posting it out there and post on TikTok, post on YouTube Shorts, post on Facebook, Instagram. Be really consistent about hitting all those platforms. Don't drive yourself crazy over it. You don't need to be posting every day. You don't need to like trick the algorithm into anything. Like, don't worry about virility. Think about your message, why you're on this earth, why people need to hear what you're saying, and use your voice to call those people in. And a big emphasis on don't focus on virility. There are so many tests and not tests, but there are so many studies I see, and Media Research just published a thing about this. But like, chasing virility is not the answer because you might have a video go viral, but there is no stickiness from that. It's not like those people are not going to be inclined really to stick around for future releases. They might have found a song, they might have thought it was cool. Streams or whatever might spike and go up, but they found a lot of studies have found that there isn't much of a retention. It kind of drops back after that. And like, what really happened? Think about cultural impact. Think about your message. And like, always bring it back to like, how do you want people to feel when they listen to your music? Because that's when you really, touch people's lives. And that's when you really sell tickets to shows, is when you're showing up authentically. So I hope that helps. I have more stuff from this list, and did I answer all that? Yes. I have more stuff from my list. Unless you guys want to ask more questions, I'll just keep going that I wanted to tell you. So we talked about fan party data, building your own email list, Patreon, bands in town. We talked about diversifying revenue. So let's talk for a second about negotiating your own deals, right? So what could deals look like in the space of being an indie artist? It could be everything from, having a deal with a sock company or reaching out to a beverage company or even negotiating with, sometimes people will reach out. I'll give you guys an example. Suna, I shouldn't have said their name, an AI company Damn it. An AI company reached out to me and they were offering me payment in exchange for making videos. They were like, we will do, XYZ amount if you do this many videos a month using our software. And they offered me a payment that was like a joke. I was like, there's no way in the world that I'm going to use my audience and my, 20,000 Instagram follower and everything else I have to make videos, make content, because I know it's gonna take hours to come up with the top lines, film the videos, all this stuff for this, like, joke of a payment. So I asked, I didn't say yes, and I asked to get on a call, and, I spoke with them, and I told them, I was like, this is what I think I'm worth. This is sort of my standard rate, whatever." And they're like, "Yeah, we don't really have the budget for that right now." And I walked away from it, and I said, "No." I always tell people, like, there's so much power in a no. You never undersell yourself, never agree to something just because they're offering, most companies are sort of looking to extract value. Like, what is in it for you? Like, you should be vetting the companies just as much as they're vetting you. Like, this goes back to my earlier point of like, you have way more power than you think you do. Like, just because you have 1,500 followers or a couple thousand, like, doesn't mean anything. Like, they need micro creators, they need smaller niche fan bases, and they're coming to you because you fulfill a need for them. So hold your stake. They ended up saying that they couldn't meet that budget. And then a week later, I booked a massive gig, like, paying way above what I would ever want. It was like a blessing. Yeah, I was like, "Oh my god, that's such a bummer." I said no to that, and then, like, if anybody believes in, like, the universe or saying no, whatever, I said no to that, and something way better came my way. So, like, just don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid to negotiate your rate. Don't be afraid to walk away from deals and vet the hell out of people. Like, even when you're signing up with a new distributor or anything, like, don't be so overly trusting that, you know, oh, this is gonna be my big break or this is gonna be anything. Like, it's just be discerning, ask a lot of questions, and let them know that you're not one to be, screwed with, right? And then I did want to speak a little bit about this idea of like your team, right? So nobody can really scale alone. And I talked about this a lot in my thesis. Like, music is not making it in the music industry and building a career and building a sustainable revenue stream and like building your verticals. Like, not all of this is meant to be done on your own. In fact, I don't really recommend you to work in isolation. With that said, what does it look like for you to have a small team, and what does that team structure look like? Is it having somebody that makes fire graphics for you and visuals and flyers? Is it hiring some marketing support? Is it hiring, it doesn't have to be a manager either. I think the traditional days of like having an artist manager or whatever, like, doesn't have to look like that. It can be logistical things for what you need to advance in your career. It could be just having a really great engineer that mixes your vocals really well, and you work with them and you have great rapport. Like, maybe you have your engineer over here and you have your creative content person, and that's your team. Like, it's going to look different artist to artist, but know that you should really surround yourself with like a couple strong folks who can help fill out the part of your career that you can't, because you're not meant to do it all alone and you're not meant to juggle all that stuff by yourself. So, whether it's somebody that helps you with touring, you don't want to burn out on this stuff and you want to be able to focus on your art. So, I hope that you guys are able to align with people throughout the course of your career that get you, that speak your language, that feel like your tribe, because there's also an alchemy and a power that happens in teaming up with people. So I always say three is the magic number. It's yourself, one other person, and then another person. And it's not like you need to be on Zoom calls with those people regularly and like, treating it like, be like, oh, you guys are my team, but kind of like your allies, people to bounce ideas off of and be like, hey, I'm thinking about putting this out, but I'm not sure. Do you want to give me some feedback? Like, people you trust. You should always have that in your career. And then, talking about long-term growth, consistency, 5 years out, 10 years out, 15 years out, like, once you start building up these small micro streams, like, I shit you not. Like year 1 might be 5 grand. Year 2 might be 15, 20 grand. Year 5 might be 40 grand. Year 10 might be 6 figures. Like it's going to take time, but you're going to start seeing the compound growth of all this effort. And you're going to start, we always want to see things moving slowly and slowly up. It's not going to be like a hockey stick, but over time, building sustainability and relationships and these venues that you can regularly go back to and these sync agents that you've built good relationships with and maybe a song, an evergreen song in your catalog that actually does do really well on streaming and brings you in a couple grand or even 10 grand or 20 grand a year. All of this is possible. You just kind of need to think long term, don't go for the, like, don't go for the, like, short burn, instant overnight stuff because it doesn't exist. Like, you always wanna think long term. That's why I'm saying always, like, vet your partners, vet the people that you're gonna work with, ask them questions. Don't just sign deals, don't just sign your rights away. Take your time to make sure that the infrastructure that you're setting yourself up with is gonna be what's gonna sustain you 5 years out, 10 years out, 20 years out, and just believe that it's possible because it does start to happen. And then also something that I think is really interesting that you should explore always in your career, and to sort of keep you from burnout or keep you from getting stagnant is and this is a big reason why I set up a roster for Sada's New York debut with such a diverse musical range. If you're, pop R&B, explore teaming up with a rock act. And I mean that. Like I don't mean for all like necessarily collaboration, but maybe playing shows, maybe some other form of collaboration. Keep yourself open to the idea of there's value to be gained in contrast. This is a big thing that I learned in grad school, right? So maybe you are, female pop act and you think, okay, I should team up with beauty brands. Okay, that's like a very likely pairing. But maybe there's something that's like very different from you that can bring more value to your audience so that when you pair up with this like sort of different kind of brand, you bring their audience into your world and you can that's where innovation happens. So, what are some other unlikely pairings? I don't know, hip hop with country, or I'm just trying to think. Maybe you guys have some suggestions, but I think there's a lot of power in contrast. So don't necessarily box yourself into one genre or one space and tap into other people's fan bases. And like, it's funny, I reached out to one of the artists and I was like, "Hey, do you wanna play this, show? It's like we have Latin jazz, we have this." And she was like, "Yeah, but I'm singer-songwriter pop. Does that make sense?" And I was like, "Of course it does. Like, you're gonna bring a really beautiful range to this, and our audience is gonna be, like, so pleasantly surprised by lately I've been seeing a lot of, like, punk rock and metal and even screamo shows just to get myself out of my own artistic lens, and it's so freeing. So, I've been talking a lot, so I think I covered everything, guys.
Yeah, no, this is perfect. I think you have 2 more questions in
Oh,
Q&A.
sure. Is it open? Oh, how can a new artist with no agent or team start landing live gigs? I'm gonna throw a link in here. My buddy Kyle owns a company called Indie on the Move, and have you guys heard of it?
Yep.
Check them out. I've routed 2 tours, and 2 of my artists have too. You don't need an agent. You can just sign up for a subscription, and you can pitch through he has, like, thousands of, venues in his database, and you can just pitch them. You come up with a press kit, you come up with I don't know where in the United States you're based, but you can maybe target 10 or 12 different markets, the Northeast, Southeast, West Coast, whatever, and you can route a whole tour. And we're talking about everything from coffee shops and restaurants up to mid-size cap rooms that are like 1,500, 5,000 capacity venues. So that's a great tool. And I don't know if you guys heard earlier, but I said breaking sound. If that's in your city, apply to play. So far sound, apply to play. And then don't sleep on the old, reach out to the venue yourself. Like, um, I'm going to drop one more resource in here. We actually have a folder of freebies on the Sungate Record Drive. It's accessible, and we have a pitch in there. Like, where's the chat? It's kind of like so. Say you want to, like what we did when we booked Sada's show and we didn't wait on the venue that was saying no. I have a template in there for like what you should say in outreach to venues if you want to book shows there, how to cite your dates, how to sell the artist, and how to make the pitch really strong. So it's in there. Check that out. And like I said, Indie on the Move is a really great tool. The range of fee options for film, TV, sync, or work for hire for songwriting, it ranges. So with sync, what happens is, so let's say you're with a sync agent and Love is Blind wants to use one of my songs for episode 2, season 4, whatever. You're going to get 2 sets of fees. There's the fee for the master, which is the recording, and then there's a fee for the song, and that's the publishing. They're the same. It might be like $5K a side. For something like Love is Blind, it could be $5K a side. So $5,000 for the master, $5,000 for the publishing, paid to me, but then that depends on what my split is with my sync agent. So if my sync agent and I are 70-30, I might get 70% of that fee. He might get 30. If we're 50-50, he gets 2,500, I get 2,500 on both the master and the pub. So I walk with $5,000, he walks with $5,000. Then on top of that, once the song airs on NBC or wherever it is, I don't watch that show, but at Netflix, wherever, once it airs, then BMI or ASCAP pays me my performance royalties. Because once music is used in TV and film and it airs, then there's cue sheets that are filled out, and you collect the royalties on that. And on top of that, if your music like say a song is used, Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush, right? So Kate Bush got the master fee, she got the publishing fee, then she got the performance royalty fee through her PRO. And because the song was so popular, her Spotify streams skyrocketed. And guess who keeps that money? Kate Bush. I don't know what the splits are. Maybe there are other writers and her label owns tons of that song. But so there's like 4 potential flooding revenue streams that could come your way. That's why sync is so lucrative and so highly sought after, but it's very, very competitive. And I mean very competitive. So if you're going to go and pursue sync, you have to be really serious about that. You have to be regularly writing, catalog music and submitting to libraries. And you want to find a really good sync agent, because you could sign a sync deal, 2-year, 3-year exclusive, and it be with like a not very good agent, and they're pitching your music and you never get any placements and it's sitting on a shelf when really you could have been shopping to somebody else. So you always want to look for favorable terms, non-exclusivity, and just an agent who really goes to bat for you and has, really likes your music. Again, back to my earlier point of vetting, vetting, vetting.
That was perfect. And I will send out, when we send the recap email out, all the resources that you shared, which are all amazing. I love the artist freebies. I'll put them all in an email for everyone that attended this.
Yeah. And then, if you guys want to reach out, I'll put my contact info here. I'll give you guys my email. Definitely follow us on Instagram. We're always posting. We have a Substack. We have a Medium. We try to post at least like one, helpful tip a week for artists. But yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you. This was amazing.
Thank you.
So much information.
A lot of information.
Yeah, but it's all really helpful. Like I said earlier, I think the biggest struggle is like, how do I become this business where I can sustain and then also continue to be creative. So yeah, thank you for this.
Palm Focus. Did I give you guys the Pomodoro, the app for timing your work sessions?
Yes.
It's everything, like literally. It got me through grad school. For context, guys, when I was in grad school, I was full-time student, getting my master's at NYU, running a company full-time and traveling and still in songwriting sessions. If I didn't use the Pomodoro method to like be able to split my time between studying for exams, writing essays, going to class, like my head would have exploded. I'm telling you. Oh, they said my chats aren't coming through.
Oh, you know what? Where it says you have to change it to everyone.
Oh, guys. Oh, but you're going to Okay. So
So
Zen focus, guys.
there we go.
Here is my email. Here is the resources for our freebies that has like the email
Perfect.
template. And
Mhm.
here's Indie on the Move. My buddy Kyle owns them to route your tours. I think that's everything, guys.
No, and then your website.
And then the metadata sign up, that's
Yes.
for how to register all your
Yep,
music once your
yep.
music's in the marketplace.
Thank you for catching that because I definitely
Yeah,
didn't.
appreciate that. See, squeaky wheel gets the oil. Somebody said something and you got what you want. Let that be a lesson.
That's it.
Thank you guys. I really
And
wish you
thank
all
you.
so much success. I love indie artists and I love what you guys are doing too, V. I
Thank you
really
so
think
much.
the power rests in our hands in the future. I mean, indie artists are gaining market share yearly.
Yep.
Know your power and move like it, you know?
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. Again, guys, make sure you follow on Instagram, all the things. I'll leave this up just for a few seconds. If you all want to put your socials in the chat, then feel free. If not, that's it.
Yes. I'll see
Thank
you guys
you.
around.
Yeah.
I'll see you guys crushing your goals.
Amen. Thank
Bye,
you.
guys. Bye.
Bye. All right, guys. What an amazing session. I'm gonna leave this up, definitely drop in your socials. And like she said, when you follow, drop your music in the DMs, show where, please. And if you guys have music, please send it to me. I love you guys. You know how Spotify does the whole end of year wrap. Majority of the music that I listen to is definitely all indie and mostly artists from the community. So please, if you follow me or if you don't, follow me and please send me your music because I listen to everything that is sent to me. I really do. And then I make the team listen to it. So yeah. Cool, cool, cool. Thanks, guys. I am going to copy all of this and follow you guys now. Yes. If you have any questions, you can hit me up as well. All right, guys. Oh, yes. And it's 247 artists on all of our socials. So, yeah, have a great one.